Hey guys, so I'm super happy to be here with you today. First off, before I get started with anything, I just want to say a big thanks to Ika for the opportunity to speak with you all and for all of you for being willing to listen to what I have to say. I'm really excited to get into it. So, just a couple of things before I formally introduce myself. Listen, I'm not a huge fan of PowerPoints during virtual presentations like this. I feel like it kind of distracts from what I'm saying. So if you could just think of this as a conversation between you and I think the whole thing will go a lot smoother. And also, we're going to allot some time for Q&A at the end. So just make sure you drop your questions in the Q&A section throughout the talk, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of it. So enough with all that boring jargon. A little bit about me. So, my name is Josh Zolin. I am the CEO of WCE, that's Windy City Equipment. We focus on commercial kitchen equipment, refrigeration, and HVAC as far as repairs, service, and sales. I'm also the author of the book Blue is the New White. I wrote this book to help change the perception of the skilled trades and really just unveil the actual opportunities and benefits that exist in this industry that nobody seems to know much about, right? Which is the whole reason why I was asked to speak here today. I'm also the host of the Blue is the New White podcast, where we talk with successful tradespeople all over the world about their successes and what they love about what they do and just why they decided to get into the industry to begin with. I'm also a proud husband, a father of two little girls, and I like to say that I'm a challenger of what used to be, right? And by that, I mean that I like to find new ways of thinking. I'm not big on that term that, hey, we've done it this way forever, and so this is the way that it works. Just because it worked yesterday doesn't mean it's going to work tomorrow. Above and beyond all that, though, I am a passionate advocate of the skilled trades. And I've spent the last 10 years of my life trying to figure out why this skills gap exists in our industry and exactly what we can do about it. So, a quick background on me, and hopefully, this will provide a little bit of credibility as to why I'm here speaking with you today, right? So, I grew up on a farm in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And I know a lot of you are probably saying to yourself, well, that makes sense. This is where he gets his blue collar roots from, and everything seems to line up. Well, you'd be wrong because this wasn't just any farm. This farm was one of only two stunt schools in America. Yes, that's stunts for the film industry: falling, fighting, rolling cars, jumping off buildings, getting lit on fire, etc. Right? This was, for lack of a better term, the family business, right? This was my premeditated path. Since the day that I was born, I was destined to be a stuntman. And I'll get to soon enough why I'm here talking with you about the trades. But to provide a little context, like my grandfather was the stunt double for Charles Bronson. He effectively was one of the founding fathers of the actual stunt industry and how it works today. So my mom actually had left the actual stunt business to start teaching it when I was born, so she could have a little bit more time with me growing up. And so I like to joke that I wasn't turning wrenches as a kid; I was getting hit by them. Right? I wasn't putting out fires; I was intentionally lighting myself on fire. And that's my lame joke of the day. So hopefully you laughed. The good thing about these virtual conferences is that I can't tell if you did or didn't, so I just get to assume that you did. So listen, here's the thing, though. There's not a ton of it's aspiring stunt people out there. So even though it was a cool thing to brag about, it didn't exactly break the bank for my mom. And I grew up in a very frugal household. Right. That'll come into play later. But back to the point. I tell you this because I think you know from when you were a kid, or those of you out there that have children, that every kid dreams of glitz and glamour and fame at some point in their lives, right? Being on stage, let's say, in front of thousands of people chanting their name. This is a common theme for children, right? And it was no different for me, right? I wanted those things, and I was actually closer than most because of my ties to the film industry. And I also wanted to inspire people and help people and really make an impact. And this is important to remember later because it ties into directly what I'm going to talk about today. So anyway, fast forward a little bit to high school, right? To the dismay of my counselors, I skipped college. I was very vocal about skipping college. I moved to Hollywood and pursued my passion, like any sensible teenager. Except I soon realized that what I had grown up doing all my life and what I thought I was going to do the rest of my life really wasn't my passion, right? And now I was lost. I didn't know where to go from there. I didn't have a college education. No one had ever told me about the skilled trades, right? This isn't something that was outwardly pushed in high school or anything like that. So I didn't know what to do. So one thing I did have, though, is a strong entrepreneurial spirit, right? I was always the kid going door to door in the county roads, with the fundraisers, trying to sell things to my neighbors and starting little companies. Hey, you want that pile of rocks moved, or do you want that hole dug? Something like that. So anyway, my entrepreneurial spirit started calling, and so my dad had actually started a little restaurant equipment repair company here in Arizona. So I called him up and I said, Dad, I have no idea what you do for a living, but I want to come do it with you. And that was the day that I left the film industry and went into the blue collar world, right? I learned a trade, I turned the wrenches, I busted my knuckles, and I never looked back. And I was in the field for about 10 years as a mechanic. In addition to learning the technical skills of the job, um, it also taught me some important fundamentals for success. I think not unfamiliar are all of you with these, but in the field you'll learn hard work and grit, tenacity, communication, problem solving, humility, perseverance, drive, individuality. All these things that you learn in the field, and you don't know that you're learning them until you've already learned them, right? And so I took those skills and I applied them to the back end of the business, right? And I grew it. I grew the business from just me and my dad to now over 60 employees, 4 branches in 3 states. We've landed on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America, I think for 3 years in a row. And look, we made money. We brought it from $250,000 a year to over $10 million a year. We provided jobs. I taught young people the same skills that I learned, which is incredibly rewarding, right? Some who have actually gone on now to start their own businesses. And through all of that, I provided for my own family. I gave them the life that I didn't necessarily have growing up in a frugal household, right? And I've had a lot of success in my short career. But the thing is, it wouldn't be possible without the skilled trades as my catalyst. So the question becomes then, why don't people know about this as an option? Why are we discouraged from pursuing this? And why are these professions looked down on? Right? So that's what I want to talk about today. And we're going to start with talking about the perception, right? This is something that we all battle every day being in the trades. I know that you've experienced this too, but it starts with what people feel about the industry. So listen, I wrote the book Blue is the New White, the subtitle The Best Path to Success That Nobody Told You About Until Now, because I thought back to my high school career where the trades weren't talked about, not really ever. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they weren't blatantly disrespected, right? But they certainly weren't applauded. And I kept thinking, I once heard, I don't remember where I heard it, but I once heard that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, right? And as a society, as a whole, we're indifferent about the trades, right? The trades, though, are responsible for all of civilization, but ignored by educators and counselors and even parents. And no, maybe not everybody, but the large majority, right? And I'm sure that many of you had a similar experience growing up. But do we ever stop to ask why? Right? And above and beyond that, do we ever ask how it translates to the people in the trades, to the people on the front lines, to the people doing this type of work, people like you and I, right? You're all in a trade. You know what I'm talking about. Look what it does for you. It puts food on the table, a roof over your head, and at the end of the day, it's something to be proud of. And a lot of us are. But do we ever feel rewarded? It's rewarding work. Nobody's denying that. But do we ever feel rewarded for it or applauded for what we do? Are people impressed when you tell them what you do for your career, what your profession is? Maybe sometimes, but not most of the time, right? I experienced this firsthand, and I'm sure many of you did too. But why not, right? We're here to ask the question, why not? It gives you what you need, and then probably some on top of that too, right? And the point is this: how is it not regarded in the same way as any other white-collar job? It often pays more and is more rewarding, yet we're told we can only achieve second-rate success. So here we are today, staring down the barrel of a growing industry, but a dying profession. And it's up to us to do something about it, right? And that's why I'm speaking with you today. Do you know the story of the handyman's invoice? This is one of my favorite stories. I'm asking you like you can actually tell me, but you're just a camera lens right now. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you the story. All right. This is one of my favorites. So it goes like this. 2 weeks before a giant ship was set to embark on its maiden voyage, the engine failed. The ship's owners, they brought in one engineer after another, but none of them could figure out how to fix this engine. The owners were running out of time, right? And they were getting desperate. So just as they were about to give up hope, they brought in an old man that one of the engineers had recommended. Now, this guy, he didn't have a college education. He didn't have a fancy degree, but he had been fixing ships since he was just a boy. And he arrived with a large bag of tools and immediately went to work. He inspected the engine very carefully from top to bottom, and so far hadn't really done much more than look at things. But finally, the old man reached into his bag and he pulled out a small hammer and he gently tapped on something. Instantly, the engine came to life, right? It was fixed. The ship's owners were thrilled and they thanked the old man profusely. So he carefully put away his tools and left. A week later, the owners received a bill from the old man for $10,000. What? The owners exclaimed, all he did was tap on something. Why are we paying $10,000? So they wrote the old man a note requesting an itemized bill. The man happily obliged and sent a bill that read, tapping with a hammer, $2. Knowing where to tap, $9,998. I love this story so much because it's the trades in a nutshell. We fix what others can't. We do what others won't. We're smarter than the world thinks, and they rely on us way more than they know. And yes, we charge for it. In fact, we're paid very well for it. See, our value is in our hands and our heads. And what would the world look like if we were actually taught our whole lives to use both? The pursuit of success is subjective. It's not one size fits all. And those who create for a living are just as valuable as those who think. But those who do both, they're the difference makers. They're the ones that combine the knowledge with the action. And they are, more often than not, people in the trades. So tell me again, why is this such a bad career? So here's the reality of the situation, right? This story that I just told is the truest glimpse that many have of the trades, and most people don't know that story. We are responsible for civilization as we know it today, as we see it. We're going to do a little exercise right now. Real quick, If you're in a room with a window, hopefully you're in a room with a window, look out that window. What do you see? The roads, sidewalks, cars, streetlights, garbage cans, power lines, maybe professional landscaping, all of which are a result of the skilled trades. What about your office or your room, whatever room you're in right now? Look around that. The walls, the desk, the chairs, the ceiling, the electricity flowing through it, the plumbing, even that window that you were looking out before. Hopefully you had that window. All of it is a result of the skilled trades, right? And I have a theory that this is why people don't pay enough attention to the trades, because it's taken for granted. It's everywhere. I call it white noise, right? It is so ingrained in our society that it's ignored. Just like that sock that you keep walking past on the edge of the dryer, right? It's just white noise. So the point is, we provide value to the people that navigate through our creation, right? And what about kitchen exhaust? Let's relate this to something, specifically to this association. Easy. I challenge you to answer the question, what would happen if those exhausts didn't exist or didn't get cleaned? Kitchens would be on fire everywhere, right? Like 1 out of every 4 kitchens would be ablaze at any given moment. We protect people, right? We enable commerce. We help build dreams. Those restaurant owners, that's their dream, to own that restaurant, to provide for their family, and we help with that. We are literally the creators of the world around us. We shape how people see and live their lives. But we're never taught or told how much these jobs matter, or how successful these careers can be, or what the benefits are, or more importantly, what the impact is on society today, right? If we did, maybe, just maybe, more people would care. More people would want in. And more people would take pride in what they do. I see it all too often, right? Even the people in the trades have a sense that they couldn't cut it in a white collar job, that they couldn't cut it in college, or that they, had to settle for the position or career that they're in. This is not true. This is the biggest lie that we can tell from inside the trades. The reality is that we're needed in every city, in every state, in every country. The reality is that we are one of the few positions that can't be replaced with robots or AI or any of this other stuff that you're hearing on the news, like Tesla's new robot, right? Even that can't do what we do. We control how slow or how fast we evolve as a civilized people. We are smart as hell, and we are just as resourceful. And you know what? If the zombie apocalypse ever comes, or the nuclear holocaust ever comes, tradespeople will be the last ones standing, right? Because we have the life skills to help us survive. Not only survive, but thrive. If only we realized the impact that we have, right? We need to realize it. So that's where I come in, right? That's where you come in, to shed light on what we can do to pull back that curtain, pull back that veil. We need to understand our work doesn't stop at the job site. No. We've committed to something far more valuable than that. Opening people's eyes to the truth behind the trades. And we're going about it all wrong in our businesses, in our schools, and at home. I know this is supposed to be an uplifting thing, right? I'll get there, I promise. But right now we're going about it wrong. And it takes all three to make a difference: businesses, schools, and homes. In our businesses, for instance, we need to adopt culture. We need to take pride. And above and all else, we need to tell people, right? We've got to spread the word. We can't be ashamed or embarrassed about what we do. The importance is written everywhere. Again, look out your window. How important? How do we get people to relate and to understand this impact? We don't pave roads. We connect cities. We don't repair the AC. We keep people comfortable. No, we don't clean exhausts. We protect people from arson, right? Mainly a joke, but we keep people safe. We keep people safe. And we don't build buildings. We shape civilization as we see it. See, at the end of the day, people don't want a job. They want an opportunity to change the world in one way, shape, or form. Even if it's their little corner of the world, they want influence. And that's really what you do every day. That's really what I do every day. We should be proud of that. Proud of what we do. We should brag about it. Let people know, because there's no other industry better suited to do that. And I would argue no better collection of people than the ones who know how to work for it and how it works for them. That's you and I. How about in our schools? We need to teach what success actually is, not what we think it should look like. We applaud coveted professions, doctors, lawyers, stockbrokers, which is great, and all the power to anybody that wants to be any of those things. But we can't forget that doctors can't practice without buildings or equipment that needs to be maintained. Lawyers can't defend without courtrooms. Stockbrokers can't trade without commodities. And where do we get our commodities? Anybody know? It's the trades, the skilled trades, right? And how about in our kitchens? Chefs can't make beautiful food art without properly vented freaking kitchens. You see, kids need to know that the trades are just as important, if not more so, than the careers that we celebrate, that we deem successful, that we push them into because we feel it's the right thing to do for their success. Let me ask you, what does it cost to teach the theory of refrigeration in physics? How about combustion in science? How about Ohm's law in mathematics? Wouldn't we all be better off, whether we're in the trades or not, wouldn't we all be better off with these valuable life skills and at the same time get people to ask questions as to why we're even learning this to begin with? How much more could we get done if we showed the trades the respect they deserve in our school systems? And finally, at home, we need to understand that what we do matters a lot, right? So I'm talking to those of us in the trades now. We want what's best for our kids, always. I want what's best for my little girls, and nothing will ever change that. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same way. But sometimes we forget that we don't get to choose what that means at the end of the day, right? We raise them to make their own decisions. Good decisions, of course, but their own decisions. So what if there's an option that requires them to use their hands, to get their hands dirty, but it makes them happy? It provides. What is the value of an education unused? Where is happiness in a career chosen for them? And I'd argue, what's so wrong with getting your hands dirty? That was perfectly fine when we were 6 or 7 years old, but suddenly when we turn 18, that's no longer an option. Even if we get paid for it. the question's this, right? Shouldn't we be preparing our kids for the world instead of protecting them from it? And wouldn't we be better off teaching them those same fundamentals of success that we all learned on the job instead of benchmarking their worth based on what grade they got in school or what school they applied to? And don't misunderstand what I'm saying, please. Effort is important. It's one of those fundamentals of success. Effort is ever important, but so is hard work, grit, tenacity, communication, problem solving, humility, perseverance, creativity, individuality, all of this stuff that I mentioned before, right? And that starts with us, guys. Listen, I'm proud of what we do. I'm proud of who we are. And if my daughters chose a path in the trades, damn it, I would be proud of them too. Because maybe, just maybe, it's not what they do that's important, but how they do it. And maybe it's the same for all of us. And we have the advantage of making an actual difference with what we do. So listen, I said before that success is subjective. We all define what it means for us, each of us. And we aren't confined to a certain level of success based on what we do. Not today, not this day and age. Remember when I said that I dreamt of being on stage, talking to thousands of people and making a difference? I couldn't possibly do that turning wrenches, could I? No. Last time I checked that that was not in the list of options with my guidance counselor in high school, right? But fast forward to today, I have a YouTube channel with millions of views. I have a book that sold thousands of copies, and I've spoken on stage and on screens to you right now, to thousands of other people, talking strictly about why turning wrenches is good. I've employed many people, coached several others. My family wants for nothing, and I lay my head on a pillow at night knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm fulfilled, happy, and successful by my definition, which my definition is being accomplished, right? And it's all of it is a result of my decision to switch my collar to blue. So look, just some things to get you thinking. Guys, if we want to change the landscape of the trades, we've got to start in our own backyard. It's you and I. It starts with us, it ends with us, and it's up to us. All right, that's all I got. So let's open it up to some Q&A. Hopefully we got some questions up here. 0, come on, guys. Lots of chat stuff in here. What do we got? To be successful tradesman or woman, you need 2 basic things: desire to succeed and proper trade school. That's from Mario. Absolutely. That's great insight right there. And I would argue too that there are many apprenticeships available out there that don't require trade school at all and will actually pay you to learn. Trade school is a very invaluable part of becoming a tradesperson. But there are other options. I went the apprentice route, and I've had some people here that have gone the apprentice route, and I've also had people come into my company via trade school as well. But really, it's about that desire to succeed, I think, right? That's the main point. We got a question in here. What's your book? My book is called Blue is the New White, The Best Path to Success That Nobody Told You About Until Now. You can find it on Amazon. Let me see. What else we have up here? What other types of companies do you see at 3 a.m.? Good one, Mark. That's Very true, right? Uh, duh, 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 duh. Does anyone have a relationship with your local trade school as a potential pipeline for employees? Kathy, thank you for bringing this up. This is actually usually a talking point in a lot of the talks that I give. This is a huge opportunity for companies like ours, right? To develop young talent, new talent, and get that pipeline for bringing them into our organization. We've got a few partnerships as well with some companies here in Phoenix. That's where my company is based out of. And it has been phenomenal. Now I'm going to go back to, the person that said that desire to succeed is important, because I have found that no matter what trade school they come out of, that desire to succeed is such a necessity. Because if they're just going through the motions and going in there because they have this mentality that we just talked about, that, oh, I couldn't cut it in college, or, oh, I'm just falling back on this, then they're never truly going to have that desire that we're looking for as employers. So I'm glad that you brought that up. One of my longest texts was in trade school for welding. That's awesome. And you know what? There's a lot of transferable skills too. I've had people come into my company. So I said in the beginning of this talk that, I'm primarily kitchen equipment repair, HVAC, and refrigeration. But we've brought in auto mechanics. We've brought in welders. We've brought in a ton of different trades into the industry, because they have that basic skill set, right? And that desire to learn. So super, super interesting comment there. We got some more Q&A. What else? What kind of rewards or awards can KEC companies use internally to keep good employees around? That's a good question. I go back and forth on that from a business standpoint. So I talked earlier in my little speech about creating a culture, right? And one of the things about creating a culture is having those incentives in place, but you never want to incentivize things, at least in my opinion, too much in this industry. We want this industry to be very collaborative. We want people to feel comfortable around one another. We don't want anyone to feel like an outcast, right? We want to make sure that everybody fits in. I know this is a little off topic, more on the business side of things, but we do have a raffle system here. Maybe this is, idea that somebody else could snag up if they like it. We've got our company values, 6 company values. And any time that anyone in the company, in the field or in the office, exhibits one of those core values for our company, anyone else on the team can nominate them for a raffle ticket, right? So their coworkers are nominating coworkers, leadership is nominating coworkers, coworkers are nominating leadership, for all of these core values that make up our culture. And so once they accumulate raffle tickets at the end of the year, we do a huge raffle, right? And we give away really cool stuff. Really trying to entice people to want to be in this industry. We give away, vacation packages, big screen TVs, Xboxes, tools, things like this that really make it for a fun experience. And that all creates that culture that I'm talking about, that you'll want, and people in your organization will want to brag about. Right. And they'll want to tell people, hey, guess what my company does? Guess what my employer does? And then that'll invoke questions from the other party, right? Well, what do you do? Well, I clean exhausts, or I, fix HVAC or kitchen equipment, whatever it may be. It sparks the conversation, because chances are the person on the other end is going to say, well, I didn't know that kind of stuff existed in the trades. So really, really good question there. Let's see, what else do we got? How do we get apprenticeships for unusual trades like ours to get started? Yeah, wow, that's a great question. Who'd that come in from? Lisa. That's a really great question. If it were me, now I know I'm not in your particular industry, but social media is a big thing right now, right? And And there's a lot of creative stuff out there in the skilled trades on social media, Instagram, and even TikTok these days, which is, captivating this next up and coming generation, like just like crazy. So I think that there's some creative things that you could do as far as, video or benefits or something like that, as far in the social media space, and I would also say that, going to local high schools, even middle schools or elementary schools, and starting to let kids know that the job actually exists. Maybe try to get some counselors on board, explain to them what the benefits are, in this sector of the industry, what the opportunities are, what does success look like, in a typical journey through, through this career. All those are different ways that we can rely on other tools available to us today, or other people in our network to help spread this message and get more people to our organization. Let's see. Kevin, I've tried to work with unions and we're just too small to even get a call back. How do I get traction in a small community? That's a good question. We're not a union shop in any of my locations, so I can't really, I'm not sure how to speak to that exactly. I'm assuming you mean traction as far as talent. Local trade schools is a good path to go. Even community colleges. We've had really, really good success at community colleges that offer, some trades courses, technical schools, stuff like that, vocational schools, establish some partnerships, even industry associations, chamber of commerce, anything of that nature that you can in a small community will help spread that word and get those people to your organization. Let's see. From Alex, do we have to be a certified tech to get a chance to be a part of the skilled trades? Do we have to be a certified tech to get a chance to be a part of the skilled trades? No. The skilled trades is a very broad industry, right? You've got electricians, you've got plumbers, you've got masons, you've got construction, you've got exhaust cleaning, you've got HVAC, refrigeration, cooking. I mean, all these different things. And there are several different paths to being able to perform this work. But at the end of the day, in some businesses, and some trades will require certifications. Some geographic regions will require, union participation. There's a lot of different variables involved. But at the end of the day, can you perform the job? Right? That's what I look at. Can you perform the job? I will send somebody to training, if they want certifications. But a certification to me is it's extra, right? I look at how well they perform on the job. I've got a team here of real old school blue collar mechanic types, right? That, they're not isolated to one field of expertise. So, they're the type of people you put them in front of a nuclear missile and they'll figure out how to fix it, right? And so I don't look so much at those certifications. And I think there's a lot of companies out there like me as well that don't put a ton of weight on that. Again, it's a plus, it's great. But I've also seen some people with certifications come out of associations that provide that training and be absolutely terrible employees. So, it all goes back to how bad do you want it? How well do you know the job? That kind of stuff. Let's see. Are you experiencing any of the challenges we and most companies are hiring or trying to retain current employees leaving for another job because of increased wages and incentives offered by large corporations? Tom, yes, absolutely. We're seeing that. That's why I love to give these types of presentations, because what I spoke about today is the way to combat that, right? And companies taking technicians from other companies and this revolving door of tradespeople, as I like to call it, hopping from one company to another, one industry to another. This isn't solving our problem, right? Our problem is not enough people are entering into these industries to begin with. as they say, all ships rise with the tide, right? That's why we have to do our part in getting more people into the industry. And sometimes it can be an investment on our part, especially if we're recruiting at a high school and things like that, because we have to put in the time to offer up that training and everything else. But we're absolutely seeing it. It's hard to combat. It really is. And you never want to get into those circumstances or situations where, somebody leaves your company for $1 more. So you bring them back for $2 more, and then they leave for $3 more. This is a slippery slope, right? Because then, we're just driving up prices all over the place. And so that's why this culture, and I go back to culture again, that's why this culture is so important, especially for the up and coming generations, right? Millennials and Gen Zs and things like that. They would rather get paid less and be at a place that they enjoy working than the alternative, than getting paid more, right? And so that's why, building a culture that is inclusive and makes people feel like they're actually a part of something, it's very difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, because you're really trying to get your values as a business owner to cascade across the organization. Now, the beautiful thing is there's no right or wrong answer, right? Your culture can be whatever you want. If you want a culture of, just people who dig their heels in and do the work and don't talk back and things like that, you can create that culture. If you want the complete opposite end of the spectrum and you want to be like Google and offer unlimited vacation days and all this stuff, which I could never do, that would scare the crap out of me. But you can do that too. So there's nothing wrong. All culture is going to do is attract the right people and retain those people because they match your values. So I think that was a little long-winded answer. I apologize for that, but thank you for answering the question, or asking the question. I thought it was a good one. Let's see. How do you retain your employees without the dollar bill in front of them? Same answer, right? I mean, you go back to culture. You gotta build an organization that people want to come to work every day, that people want to talk about, that that really makes them feel like they're accomplished. Remember when I told you that my definition of success was feeling accomplished at the end of every day? I don't think I'm so different than anybody else. I think that a lot of people have that same mindset, and they really just want to feel like they made a difference, whether it's in their community or their organization. And if they feel like they made a difference, they helped somebody or helped themselves, they're not going to want to change that. They're going to appreciate that, and they're going to stay, and that's kind of what we found. And look, my company's not perfect. We've made mistakes, and we still make mistakes, and we're still building this culture. We've been building this culture now for 12 years, and we're very close, and it feels great. And you're still going to have your one-offs that leave or try to find something else. So it's tricky, it's difficult, it's definitely not easy. But as they say, anything in life worth having isn't, right? So what else do we got here? Richard, most middle schools and high schools have trade programs, but little participation. Counselors are good resources. We do need to change the way the trades are seen. Well done. Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. And this is an interesting observation here, because I know that some high schools and middle schools have trades programs, but some of them, I don't know how many are actually staying. We're hearing all this stuff about shop class being removed, and I know sometimes that's replaced by woodworking and stuff that's a little bit less, I guess, a little bit more risk averse. I don't know, but I think that's a good observation, and we just need to bring it back and to educate the educators. That's what I like to say, right? And make sure that everybody understands what all can be accomplished in this line of work, and really get that to cascade across middle schools, high schools, even elementary schools. I've seen some really great kids books on the trades that have been coming out lately too. Let's see, did we get to all of them? I think that's all the questions, and I've got 2 seconds left. So that's all the time I've got for today. I really, really appreciate it. Again, thank you big thanks to Ika. Big thanks to everybody who listened, and hopefully you got a little bit of value out of what I said today. And if you have any other questions, concerns, comments, whatever, feel free to reach out to me directly. My email address is josh@windycityaz.com. Lisa or April, if you want to provide that to the attendees, I've got no problem with that if they want to reach out. All right. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time, and good luck with the rest of the conference.